Tonight on Cronkite News, it's day one of the WM Phoenix Open, and we have a reporter with her feet on the grass with all you need to know.
Plus, President Donald Trump's plan to end birthright citizenship hits a roadblock. We'll tell you what a judge had to say about the controversial plan. And why some undocumented individuals could avoid receiving medical care at hospitals. Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Emily Fox-Millian. And I'm Dawi Geber-Mariam. Thank you for joining us.
Today is the first day of the WM Phoenix Open. Cronkite News reporter Kayla Marino joins us now from the TPC Scottsdale with more on how the fans are excited to return to the People's Open.
The PGA Tour is making its annual stop at TPC Scottsdale for the WM Phoenix Open. 750,000 fans are expected to attend this year. And despite some of the issues faced last year, the fans I spoke to had no reservations about coming back for more golf and a good time.
February is the month that golf fans look forward to. Whether you're from the desert or traveling from outside of Arizona, the sixth stop of the PGA Tour is a tournament like no other.
It gets really exciting over here at the 16th, so we love coming out here for this.
The famous 16th hole is where some fans will wake up bright and early just to make sure they get a spot at the hole.
We were up at 3:30, we were here at 4:30. We were standing in line for 2.5 hours.
Some are dedicated fans who have picked the same hole and made it theirs for more than 2 decades.
We've been coming to this hole for 20-some years, and you can't get a better seat in the house than right here.
Some people sit about 30 feet away from the 10th hole watching all the golfers come through, while some spend their day 20 feet following one particular golfer. Like PGA pro Will Gordon's mother, Sally, who won't miss her son putt for birdie.
We love good golf, so there's a lot of good golf. And we have a lot of friends out here on the tour that he grew up with in junior golf, so it's fun to watch some of his friends.
A lot of excitement here, as you could see. This year's tournament is predicted to have $208 million generated in visitor spendings. And I'm not surprised, as so many fans start planning their trip for next year the day the tournament ends. At the People's Open in Scottsdale, Kayla Marino, Cronkite News.
Thanks, Kayla. In other news, President Donald Trump announced his intentions to overhaul the American air traffic control system. This comes after last week's deadly plane crash near Washington, D.C. He made the announcement earlier today during a speech at the National Prayer Breakfast.
I'm going to be speaking to John and to Mike and to Chuck and to everybody. We have to get together and just, as a single bill, just pass where we get the best control system.
Another focus of Trump's speech during the breakfast was on rooting out what he called anti-Christian bias in America. Trump also announced he would be forming a task force led by U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi to investigate what he called the targeting of Christians.
Meanwhile, a federal judge blocking President Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship today. The president's order would have prevented children born in the U.S. by parents who are here illegally from being granted citizenship. Just yesterday, a federal judge in Maryland issued a nationwide pause on an order in a separate case.
After President Trump took office, his administration removed a policy that restricted federal immigration arrests in certain areas. Cronkite News reporter Ariel Nelson tells us how some activists and hospitals are reacting to this directive.
As a result of policy changes, some activists like Jose Patino worry that undocumented individuals will avoid seeking medical care at hospitals.
It makes no sense to me if that is your strategy to create a more prosperous country economically or a safe environment.
The DHS emphasized the importance of law enforcement having full access to sensitive areas. They released a statement saying criminals will no longer be able to hide in America's schools and churches to avoid arrest. The Trump administration will not tie the hands of our brave law enforcement and instead trust them to use common sense. Arizona Senator John Kavanaugh supports this policy change as he remembers his past in law enforcement.
On some occasions, while we were arresting somebody, they would be injured, requiring hospitalization, and a police officer went to the hospital with them, and they were handcuffed to the bed. And the police officer stayed there.
In a statement, Valleywise Health says Valleywise Health will comply with all laws, rules, and regulations while also making sure any individual who presents to our hospital or community health centers receives the care they need. Hospitals are required by law to provide life-saving treatment to anyone, regardless of ability to pay or status. Banner Health sent Cronkite News this statement saying Banner is committed to providing high-quality care to each patient. We work collaboratively with law enforcement agencies to protect public safety and will continue to comply with all state and federal laws. That includes complying with state and federal laws that protect patient privacy and personal information. Some supporters of the directive believe that arresting undocumented people in hospitals is important to ensure that dangerous individuals remain in custody.
If there's somebody who should be picked up by ICE and they're in a hospital and ICE decides they don't want to just come back later and hope that they're still there, they want to take them to custody, they can do that. And the person would stay at the hospital to get treatment, but they would be under ICE custody.
Patino disagrees with these policy changes, and he encourages people to remain calm when facing challenges.
I always give them first, calm down, let's breathe, let's process this together. Because when you get it, you make mistakes or you do things incorrectly that are going to harm you is when you are agitated.
In Phoenix, Ariel Nelson, Cronkite News.
In an email to Cronkite News, the Phoenix field of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement stated that they are not providing any comments on this issue at this time.
Warmer weather is finally here, but if you're headed out for a hike, it could soon cost more. Arizona State Parks and Trails announced today that they are going to be raising fees on entrances, camping, and tour prices for more than 30 parks across the state. The move is planned to take effect on February 25th, and the fee increase is supposed to help support park operations. The agency does not rely on public funds or tax dollars to operate any of the 33 parks it is in charge of. This move comes because of multiple factors such as inflation, aging infrastructure, new amenities, and an increase in park visitations from the public. Coming up next, an organization helping feed the unhoused has been shut down because of a city ordinance.
Find out how local groups are trying to get around the ordinance to help those in need. And while it's getting warmer here in the valley, many parts of the country are still getting strong snowstorms. We'll tell you where.
Plus, how long will these warm temps linger in the valley? Your local forecast is next after the break.
I grew up in a small border town, and water was really important to us. Without enough water, we can't farm, we can't eat, we can't live. And the way we're doing it right now, straight up doesn't have a future. I went to ASU because this is a place where you solve problems. With vertical farming, we can grow the same amount of food with 95% less water than traditional farming. The work I'm doing at ASU is changing the way I look at the world.
Innovation at the Walter Cronkite School is pushing the boundaries of traditional journalism.
Storytelling has evolved over the years. This is part of that evolution.
Students in the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Lab are using emerging technology to create scenes in augmented and virtual reality, coding playable games, and bringing the audience into the story.
They're only limited by their imagination and their willingness to learn.
Find out more at cronkite.asu.edu.
Last year, an organization providing free food and clothing in Tempe Park was shut down after their founder was cited and banned from the parks in Tempe. Now, a private club is picking up the outreach efforts. Cronkite News reporter Leslie Chapman explains how New Deal Meal is banding together to continue to provide support for the unhoused community.
There we go.
Every Sunday at a Tempe park, you'll find community members providing free meals and clothing to people who need it. And week after week, members of New Deal Meal receive warnings and citations from Tempe police for violating the city's special event ordinance.
They came back last week and they cited Ron, and I missed it because I was talking to one of our members and trying to catch up with him.
Ron is Ron Tapscott, a New Deal Meal organizer. This week, Reverend Dr. Tom Martinez received a warning not long before the event wrapped up.
I almost left because it seemed like, the food had been distributed and we were pretty much done. And so, yeah, it surprised me that it happened right at the very end.
Members of the group are trying different ways to continue to provide their services without running afoul of city rules, which state that event sponsors receive special use permits. According to a statement from the city of Tempe, New Deal Meal has not applied for a special event permit. But Wells says because they are a private club and they are hosting a private event, this code does not apply to them.
It's basically a way of the city saying, we want to shut you down, but they're hiding behind legalese because they wouldn't look good for the city to say, yeah, we're going to shut them down. Instead of say, we want them to get a special event permit, but that's basically the same thing as saying we want to shut them down.
The city argues that over the past few months, new meal deal events hosted on Tempe Park property have included increasing attendance, most recently by more than 80 people. Historically, events in this location have resulted in unsafe conditions, trash, and items left behind in the park, and environmental impacts.
The receptacles will be relatively full, but we make sure they're not overflowing, and we try to keep it neater, and we take a picture of it when we're done just to document that. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that we fall within the appropriate guidelines for the city.
Austin Davis ran a similar outreach effort until he was shut down by the city of Tempe. He says that he feels emotional seeing the legacy of his organization carried on.
It's a really beautiful thing, and I'm so proud of everyone who's involved in this project and this mission. People deserve access to basic human rights.
Martinez said he and other faith leaders met with the city on Monday, but they say there is no clear resolution. In Tempe, Leslie Chapman, Cronkite News.
The city of Tempe also said in their statement that they continue to make helping our unsheltered residents a top priority. At the same time, we will keep working to keep Tempe's public spaces and parks safe to ensure that all our residents can enjoy the amenities funded by their tax dollars. Potentially dangerous winter weather conditions across the nation.
That's right. Multiple cities in the eastern U.S. are experiencing major winter storms, resulting in hazardous road conditions.
Check out what's happening in Boston. The National Weather Service reported that the majority of Massachusetts was blanketed with about 2 inches of snow. Footage here shows what the driving conditions were like earlier today for those New England residents. Moving towards the Midwest, parts of Duluth, Minnesota got as much as 3.5 inches of snow, and Chicago got freezing rain overnight, covering the city in a blanket of ice.
Oof.
While the snowy conditions in the east continue, temperatures here in the valley are on the rise.
Quentin Presley joins us now from the Cronkite Weather Center with what we can expect.
Thanks, Starweed. Let's get right into what's what up in the sky. Starting off with tonight's evening planner, it's going to start off at 76 degrees at 6 p.m., nice and sunny. But as the sun sets into the nighttime, we're going to see that degree spike into the 60s, capping off at 64 at 10. Now, sticking with our low theme for the segment, what's the state going to look like tomorrow morning? Well, over here in the westward part of the state, over here in Quartzsite, Gila Bend, and Ajo, it's going to remain in a 50 degrees average, but the rest of the state remains really chilly. It's going to stay between 30 and 45 degrees. Now, let's kick it up a notch. No surprise here, the southern part of the state is going to be within 80 degrees, but as you move up central and north, it's going to decrease. Something to point out, these northern cities up in the state, Page, Flagstaff, and the Grand Canyon right here, they're getting hotter and hotter every day as we approach the spring season. Now, what's going on this weekend? Well, of course, the WM Phoenix Open, and weather's going to be fairly reasonable. It's going to be 56 and 67 throughout the morning, very sunny, but as the afternoon approaches 1 and 2, it's going to be warm, but it's also going to get dark. Now, as the WM Phoenix Open carries Friday and Saturday, the biggest event of the year is here. The Super Bowl comes, and including the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles, it's going to be 79 degrees, nice weather to watch the big game. Who you got? Let me know. Now, looking at the rest of the week, Monday is going to be a sweet treat, 78 and sunny, but as we get into Tuesday through Friday, it's going to be really cloudy, with Wednesday having a chance of precipitation. That's all from the Cronkite Weather Center. I'm Quentin Presley, sending it back to the desk.
Thanks, Quentin. Coming up next, find out what the big move the Suns made at the NBA trade line deadline is.
I'm sure the Suns fans are dying to see what move they made, Emily.
Absolutely.
Plus, the WM Phoenix Open officially kicks off today. We'll tell you about a side to the Open you may not know about and how they are helping local children in need.
I'm Max Cepeda at the Super Bowl here in New Orleans. Coming up in sports, how one Scottsdale Saguaro High School star is about to play in his first Super Bowl. More on that coming up.
Welcome to the Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Paisley Poole, and today was the NBA trade deadline, and Kevin Durant remains in Phoenix. The Suns did not end up trading the four-time NBA scoring leader, but they did make a move right before the deadline. The Suns are sending Jusuf Nurkic and a 2026 first-round pick to the Charlotte Hornets in exchange for Cody Martin, Vasilije Micic, and a 2026 second-round pick. The move comes after Nurkic reportedly had no relationship with head coach Mike Budenholzer. The Suns get a strong point of attack defender in Martin and Micic, a European star who came to the league 2 years ago. Meanwhile, the Suns suffered their third consecutive loss last night, falling 149-109 to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They were trailing so badly in the fourth quarter, head coach Mike Budenholzer cleared the benches and conceded the game. The Suns coach is just looking to return home to regroup.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've got good players, this league is tough, so we got to, get on the plane, go home, gather, fill our cups back up. Get ready to go play Friday. Things can change quickly. We've got a good group. We just got to keep working.
In high school basketball, the Sunny Slope girls team is looking to make another playoff run after appealing in the Elite Eight of the Open Division last season. And Cooper Holman tells us the Vikings are off to a great start.
With 2 weeks left in the regular season, Kristen Kleider's squad is trying to get over the hump, or maybe the slope, as the Sunny Slope Vikings are making a run for an Open championship. Coming off a huge win defeating the defending Open runner-up in Desert Vista, the Vikings have reached new heights, cracking the top 5 in the Open rankings. But for Coach Kleider, she knows her team is barely scratching the surface.
Sky's the limit.
It's totally up to them. It's a mentality, and we have to carry that every day. But you know what? They put the work in, and I know they're going to battle every single night.
While there's still plenty of basketball to be played, it's hard not to feel something special brewing with this year's squad. As senior guard Kylie Rarick says, it's been a team effort, starting with Coach Kleider.
We'll never have a group like this again, and I think she makes it fun. She makes it easy for us to just be ourselves and trust each other and her at the same time.
I don't think there's much I didn't already know. I just keep telling everybody how magical this group is. They're so resilient and they work together. And we really are a team, if that makes sense. We don't have an all-star. We have all-stars every night that show up. But when you have, 5 people on the court that can average 10 points, that's pretty magical.
Senior point guard Tegan McElroy, also known as the glue of this team, leads the 6A division in assists per game, but credits her teammates' offensive prowess for the Vikings' success.
I think it definitely makes it easier for me because I have more options. I also just think being able to have that chemistry with so many people on our team is a big reason of why we succeed.
With some big games to finish the season, like a highly anticipated rematch with Xavier College Prep, who knocked off Sunny Slope in the Elite 8 last year and beat them by 5 earlier this season, there will be plenty of opportunities for this team to show why they were on a one-way slope to the Open Tournament. In North Phoenix, Cooper Holman, Cronkite News.
With just 2 games left, Sunny Slope hosts Xavier Prep and Desert Vista to finish the regular season. The WM Phoenix Open is known for party animals and the best golfers on the PGA Tour, but it also focuses on giving back to the community. Cronkite News reporter Max Williams was there for the Special Olympics Putting Challenge.
WM Phoenix Open Week is popular for many reasons. One of those is the Special Olympics Putting Challenge, which is a fun experience for those involved.
We won.
Yeah, we won.
And that's what makes it different, right? Every year we've been out here, I don't think we've ever won, but this year we did.
While one group carded the best score, everybody won after a check of $55,000 was presented to Special Olympics Arizona.
Since COVID, it's definitely been this growing event. It's something that we definitely want more of. There's so much community engagement.
Here at the Santan Ford Putting Challenge, the stars are bright. And I'm not just talking about the talented special athletes. We've got all kinds of celebrities and community leaders from right here in the Valley.
Just to see everybody and how much fun they're having, it puts a smile on my face. I love coming out here.
The first hole, stepping up there with our group, and all 3 of us that were putting, we were scared to death. We were nervous as you can, like our first day of school, but we all managed, did a good job.
The Diamondbacks weren't the only team partnering up with the Special Olympians.
My own golf game sucks, no special coaching, so I'm not good at golf, so stay in my lane.
He's amazing. He was really fun to putt with, and yeah.
Just not any good, right? Not any good. I'm not any good. He carried the team.
Good. He's good.
For many of the participants like Andrew, golf offers the opportunity to connect with others.
For both of us, a way we could go out and relax, get away from things. He's pretty active with swimming and other things, but golf is kind of relaxing for us.
My son's competed now for about 18 years. He's 26 now, and we love Special Olympics. It's all about inclusion. It's all about the athletes.
And it's all about having some fun. In Scottsdale, Max Williams, Cronkite News.
Now to the Super Bowl, just 3 days away, and it'll be a big moment for one former Valley High School star. Our Max Zepeda is in New Orleans with more on the Saguaro Sabercat, who now suits up for the Eagles.
Here in New Orleans, the stars of the NFL will be shining bright. But one storyline that many have harped on coming into this Super Bowl rematch is all of the new faces on both sides who were not on either roster when the 2 teams met in Glendale 2 years ago, including Philadelphia Eagles defensive back Keely Ringo. Before reaching the NFL and winning back-to-back national titles at his alma mater of Georgia, his football life took center stage in Scottsdale at Saguaro High School, playing under then head coach and now Arizona State football tight ends coach Jason Mons. It was a decision that moved him from his hometown of Tacoma, Washington, and one that he doesn't regret, as he believes his time in the Valley and with Coach Mons prepared him for football's biggest stage.
It was definitely more of my growing parts of my life, of becoming a man, and also going to college, man, but just playing football at a high level, a great coach, a great person, man, and just having people like him around me definitely helped me mold me into a great man.
So the question remains, will Ringo and other newcomers to this big stage be the ones to decide the outcome for arguably the biggest event in all of North American sports? In 72 hours, we're going to find out that answer. Reporting from outside of Caesars Superdome here in New Orleans, Max Cepeda, Cronkite News.
Thanks, Max. I'm Paisley Poole, and that's it for your Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Paisley. Coming up next, speaking of the NFL, there is some exciting news from the land down under.
That's right, Emily. The NFL made history today when it comes to international showcases. Stay tuned after the break to learn about which NFL team is going to play the first regular season NFL game in Australia next season.
Looking beyond the Super Bowl, the NFL has announced it is heading to the land down under.
The NFL will host its first regular season game in Australia in 2026. The Los Angeles Rams will be the designated home team, but the date and opponent will not be announced until later. The first Australian NFL game is the Denver Broncos and San Diego Chargers that was played in the preseason game in Sydney in 1999.
That's it for tonight's edition of Cronkite News. I'm Emily Fox-Millian.
And I'm Dowie Geber-Mariam. Thank you for joining us.